Hi all, if you're watching this series of videos, then you probably have seen an array list in Java before. So I definitely do not intend to teach the basic of coding in my videos, or even the basics of coding in Java, because I assume that you already have some experience in Java. At least you know the basics about Java classes, including the string class. So it is very likely that you have came across array lists before, because that's what everybody teaches in the first course in Java. But in case you don't, you might want to go and look it up later. I'm going to give a quick demo of array list just in case, because it's a very simple class anyway, and if you haven't used it for a while, at least you can use it as a review. I simply think about array lists as an advanced array in Java. It's just a better array. Why? Because it's an array that you can resize, as in you can add or delete element as you like. So you normally start with an empty array list. Let me make one now. So you have to specify what you want in it, integer, and as with the other data structures like maps and sets, you can't put a primitive there. You have to put the object version of integers, and long story, I don't want to explain why that's the case. And here I just made an array list. Let's just call it A actually. And if you want to add elements to this array list, well, you have to call the add method. So let's add 1 to 3, and you can print it out easily, which you cannot do with an array. I have 1 to 3 here. You can add elements at the start. Well, you can add elements at any index. Actually, I'm going to add an element at the start. Let's say 10. You can delete elements anywhere as well. remove 1. If you want to get an element, then you just call get and give it the index. Let's say get 2. And there's a whole bunch of other nice method that you can use. Sorry, I went out of bounds there. Such as contains, index of, and you can go look up the Java doc for array list to find out about what the class can do. And today in particular, I want to show you how you can sort an array list. Sorting is actually very easy to do. Let's jumble this up a little bit. Let's give more numbers. 5. Let's put 4 at the start. So I have an array of 4, 1, 3, 2, 5. I'm going to output that array. Okay, 4, 1, 3, 2, 5. Then to sort it, I need another class called collections. I just call .sort and give it the array. Well, array list, sorry. As you can see, this sorts the array. And this is probably a good time to mention that you can also sort an array. Not just array list, but you can also sort an array. And the way you do that is, let me just make an array here, 4, 1, 3, 2, 5. Is by calling the arrays.sort method. So I can't print out the array B easily, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it that this is sorted. I guess let's print out the first element and the last element. So B0 and B5, sorry, B4, and on that I'll get 1 and 5. So yep, the array is sorted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the difference is there are some limitation with arrays compared to array lists, and we're going to see one later. But in particular, I don't think you can sort backwards. Let me try. First order. Yeah, it's not taken. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you can't sort an array backwards. You have to sort an array list. Well, you can sort an array list backwards, and I'm going to show you. Well, actually, there are 2 ways you can sort an array list backwards. One way is that you can just reverse it. So if I sort the array in increasing order, I can then just say collections dot reverse A. That will reverse it. So now I get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But of course that's a waste because you're sorting in decreasing order and then you reverse it. Whereas you can just sort it in decreasing order. And the way you do that is something you saw before, calling collections.reverse order. So when I call sort, I pass it another parameter, which is the way to sort it. This is actually a comparator object, and if you want to look it up, comparator, you can read up on it. It's not something you need to know. I mean, this is like really pretty Java stuff. It's pretty deep, so you can avoid that stuff if you're in your first or second year. But this collection reverse order, this comparator, we're going to do something similar to this later for this question. So I thought I'll show you first. And I think that is it. That's all I want to talk about array list. So just reviewing the important stuff, you call .get to get an element from the array list. You can call a.add. There is a.remove. There's a contains. If you want to know if the array list contains something, there is a index of to find the index of a certain element. And you can do sorting, you can do reverse. There's a few more things you can do with collections, and I'll leave it to you to explore. So it's a good idea to get to know what array lists can do if you want to do these coding questions. Now I'm going to delete all that, and maybe let's go read the question so you know what it's going to be about. The problem is called sort of sorting. So you are going to be given a list of names, as you can see in the sample input here, and you have to sort it in alphabetical order. Seems simple enough, with one catch. So if you read the second paragraph here, it says if two names have the same first two letters, then they should stay in the same order as the input. As in, well, there's an example here. I got Poincar and Pockhammer. So if you sort this alphabetically, POIN will occur after POCH, but according to the rule, if the first two characters are the same, and this in this instance, yeah, they're the same, they're both PO, then you order it according to the order, well, according to the original order. So if Poincar happens before Pockhammer, then Poincar will happen before Pockhammer. After you sort it, I mean. So that is the question. Really, that's all you have to do. So you might want to give it a read. The link is on the description as always. You can give it a try first. And I'm going to start writing the code now. I'm going to start by reading the integer. So int n equal to in.nextIn. And what do I have to do? Okay, so as long as n is not 0, I will have strings to read. So while n is greater than 0, and inside here I'll have a for loop to n, and I'm going to read a bunch of names, and every time there's a new case I have to make a new array list. So let's make that. I'm going to put stuff inside that array list. So names.add in.next. And then once I finish, I have to read another integer. And that should do it. So if I read a 0, it's going to be caught by this this condition on the while loop, and I will exit the while loop. Okay, that should do it. Why don't we test it? So system.out.println a, sorry, not a, names. Try to run it. Copy and paste. Mozart Beethoven Bach. Yes, that seems to be working. Great. Now, if you just want to sort it, you can just go collections, sort names. That will sort the array list, sorry, in alphabetical order. So if I run that again, yep, save, run. You see it's Gödel, Hilbert, but the second one is wrong here because remember there's a special sorting rule. You're supposed to have Poincare before Pochhammer. So we're going to do that now. The code is going to be a bit long, so let me just expand the Eclipse window, clear that up. You saw earlier that if I want to sort backwards, then I just have to give collection.sort a second parameter. So I give it collections.reverse order. This will sort the array list names backwards. So the second parameter here is the rule I want to apply when I'm sorting. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it a new rule. And the easiest way to write this is by using lambdas. You probably, well, I'm not sure you have heard about lambdas, maybe in other languages. I'll show you the old syntax first. Maybe we'll start with the old syntax. The old way is to give collection.sort a comparator object. I mentioned comparator object earlier. This is making a new comparator object. I honestly can never remember the syntax, so yeah, what I normally do is I go to Eclipse and do this. So it gives me a code that I can complete. So this is like me making a new object of the class comparator, and the class comparator is what I use to compare two different strings this time. And you have to write a compare function. Basically, if I give you two strings, O1 and O2, which one's smaller, which one's bigger? That's what I have to tell it. Now, how do I do this? Well, what's the rule? The rule is if the first two characters of the strings are the same, then you should not change the order. Now, sort in Java is a stable sort, meaning that if you have two elements which are the same, the order will be preserved. So basically, if I have two strings where the first two characters are the same, I just have to tell Java that they're the same, as in don't change the order. How do I do that? Well, if substring 0 to 2 equals to O2 substring 0 to 2, so the first two characters are the same, then I want you to return 0, meaning that O1 and O2 are the same. Otherwise, what should I return? I will return, well, let's just use the comparator. Well, you can compare strings using compare to, so I'm just going to do that. O2. By the way, there are actually two compare to function for strings. Compare to ignore case. That's probably too small for you, but let me complete that. So there's compare to ignore case, which will ignore case, and there's compare to without ignore case. And for this question, sorting is case sensitive based on the ASCII order, so we cannot use the ignore case one. Let me just try this, run it, see input. Okay, so as you can see here, now you have Gödel, Hilbert, Poincare, Pochhammer, and Ramanujan just as we want. So this is working. If I don't have that, save, run it again. This will just sort according to alphabetical order. So you will have Pochhammer before Poincare. Okay, so that is done. That's the first syntax. We can try to submit this, but now I'll just show you the second syntax first. Like, there's a better way. Well, is it better? I prefer another syntax, and I'm going to show you that. So this one is based on a lambda notation, and it's not something I want to talk about really. You can just look at it. If you haven't heard about lambdas before, then let this be your first exposure to it. It's just a nice way to write functions. So basically, I'm going to give it a function. What does this function take? This function is going to take two strings, like this one here, right? I'm basically writing a function here that does compare. I'm basically writing a function that takes two strings. So what do you want to call those two strings? Well, here we call it O1 and O2. So let's keep that. I'm going to give you O1, and then I'm going to give you O2. And then what should you do with O1 and O2? Well, here's the function body. If I can just copy this actually. Oops. That. This will also work. So you see, instead of writing, well, this is kind of completely different because is it different actually? You are still technically making a comparator. All right, just don't mind me. Basically, instead of saying make a new comparator class and override this method, you just give it a method. Like here's a function O1. If you get two strings, then this is what you do to work out which one's bigger, which one's smaller. And this 4 lines is just an exact copy of this one here. So you're saving this part basically because you're writing using a lambda notation. This is what lambda notation is. Basically, it's a function, like, because you have these brackets, it's going to have two inputs, and this is the output. I guess if it makes you feel better, you can also have string here, instead of just letting Java work out what they are, but you don't have to. This will also work. Let's try it. Should run. Yeah, this will also work fine. Okay, so that's it. Let's try to submit. Which version do you want? Which version should we submit? I'm going to do this one. Java main. As always. Did I get the package? Nope. Okay, good. Okay. Let's see if I got everything right. And that's what I want to talk. Ooh, wrong answer. What did I do wrong? Oh my god, I'm sorry. Of course it's wrong. I'm supposed to print out the names one by one on a line, and let's go back to the question because I have to worry about the spaces as well. Okay, so so for string s in names, print it out, s, and then if it's the last one, I should not print another empty line, but if it's not the last one, I have to print out an empty line. So if n is not equal to 0, print out a new line. Okay, run that. Whoops. Copy that. Okay, is that fine? Not sure if there's a new line there or not, but that shouldn't be, right? If it's not equal to 0, print out a new line. Otherwise, don't print out a new line. Seems right to me. I'm just going to submit it. Of course, this is not what you do in a competition because you will get penalized every time you make a wrong submission. Yeah, okay. All right, that's got accepted. So there you go. This is how you sort something on ArrayList using a special rule. as in you just make your rule and put it there. And it's something that comes up every now and then. It's good to be able to sort using your own criteria. So that's it for me, and thank you for watching.